Lumipad ang isang sasakyan habang binabaybay nito ang kahabaan ng isang highway sa Moscow, Russia.
Nakaligtas ba ang driver ng sasakyan o tumilapon ito sa daanan? Malalaman po natin yan mamaya sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi mamaya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores at ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Martes ng gabi.
203 Chinese ships na monitor ng Philippine Navy sa West Philippine Sea.
Utang ng Pilipinas lumobo na sa 15.69 trillion pesos sa katapusan ng July 2024.
Final pleas para sa mitigation hearing ng Hong Kong 47 nagsimula na.
Estados Unidos kinumpiska ang eroplano ni Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
At 11 katao sa China patay matapos araruhin ng school bus. Sinabi ng Philippine Navy na may kabuuang 203 barko ng China ang nakita sa West Philippine Sea at 71 rito ay nasa Sabina Shoal.
Ang datos na ito ay naitala mula Agosto 27 hanggang Setyembre 2. Mas mataas ito kumpara sa 103 barko na nakita mula Agosto 20 hanggang 26 sa WPS. Ayon kay Philippine Navy spokesperson Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad, ang pinakahuling bilang ng mga barko ng China sa WPS ay ang pinakamataas na naitala para sa taong ito. Gayunpaman, sinabi niya na patuloy na gagampanan ng Navy at ng Armed Forces of the Philippines ang kanilang mandato na protektahan ang teritoryo ng Pilipinas. Kabilang narito ang pag-deploy ng pinakamalaking barko ng Philippine Coast Guard na BRP Teresa Magbanwa sa Sabina Shoal upang maging bantay laban sa mga barko ng China.
Inihayag ni Maritime Security Expert Ray Powell na umalis ang nasa 6 na Chinese Maritime Militia vessels sa Panatag Shoal dahil po sa lakas ni Bagyong Enteng. Tinukoy ni Powell na patungo sa Hainan Island sa China ang kanilang mga barko sa kabila ng pangambang dulot ng Bagyong Enteng ay nananatili pa rin ang presensya ng China Coast Guard 3305 sa West Philippine Sea.
Samantala, aabot na sa 13 katao ngayon ang naiulat na nasawi habang nasa 10 naman ang sugatan sa Bagyong Enteng o Tropical Storm Yagi. Galing sa Calabarzon ang 7 sa mga nasawi, 1 sa Western Visayas, 2 sa Central Visayas at 3 sa Bicol Region. Batay sa datos na inilabas ng NDRRMC ay nasa higit sa 100 insidente ng pagbaha ang naitala mula sa pananalasa ng Bagyong Enteng. Dagdag pa rito ang 4 na kaso ng pagguho ng lupa at pagkasira ng 3 infrastruktura. Kasunod nito ay sinabi ni Director Edgar Posadas ng Office of Civil Defense na patuloy ang ginagawa nilang pagbabantay at pagbeberipika sa bilang ng mga nasawi. Samantala, pumalo naman sa 37,867 pamilya ang apektado ng bagyo mula sa Regions 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at NCR.
Humihiling ang Department of Education o DepEd sa House of Representatives ng karagdagang budget na nagkakahalaga ng 61.74 billion pesos para sa taong 2025. Sa ilalim ng National Expenditure Program, ang iminungkahing budget para sa DepEd at mga kaakibat na ahensya nito ay nasa 703.177 billion pesos. Ang karagdagang budget na hinihingi ng mga ahensya ay nahahati sa karagdagang 59.45 billion pesos para sa DepEd Office of the Secretary at 2.29 billion pesos naman para sa 6 na kaakibat na mga ahensya. Ipinakita ni Education Education Secretary Juan Edgardo Angara ang budget request sa mga mambabatas sa House Committee on Appropriations. Ipinahayag niya na 30 billion pesos dito ay gagamitin para sa 12,000 bagong silid-aralan at 6.8 billion pesos naman para sa infrastructure for safer and resilient schools projects at iba pa.
Umakyat na sa 15.689 trillion pesos ang kabuuang utang ng Pilipinas sa pagtatapos ng Hulyo ngayong taon ayon sa Bureau of the Treasury. Tumaas ito ng 1.3% mula sa 15.483 trillion pesos noong katapusan ng June 2024. Sa datos ng Treasury Bureau, nasa 206.49 bilyong piso ang naitalang month-on-month growth sa debt stock ng bansa. Ayon din sa ahensya, malaki ang bahagi ng sovereign debt sa total outstanding debt ng Pilipinas. 68.4 or 0.54% nito ay nakuha locally at ang 31.46% naman ay nakalap externally. Pumapalo naman ang domestic debt ng gobyerno sa 10.753 trilyong piso sa katapusan ng Hulyo. Ang foreign debt naman ay nasa 4.936 trillion pesos nitong katapusan din ng Hulyo.
At makinig po kayo mabuti dahil naglabas na babala ang Department of Education o DepEd sa publiko laban sa mga kumakalat na peking cash aids para sa mga estudyante. Ayon sa DepEd, ang mga peking anunsyo ay nakapost online at nangako ito na magbibigay sa mga mag-aaral sa elementarya hanggang kolehiyo ng cash assistance na 5,000 piso at 8,000 piso. Kapalit nito ay ibibigay ng mga estudyante ang kanilang personal information online. Kabilang sa mga dokumentong kinakailangan upang maging kwalipikado sa fake cash aid ay ang birth certificates na inisyu ng Philippine Statistics Authority, school identification at enrollment certificate. Pagkatapos maipasa ang mga ito ay kinakailangang magparehistro sa pamamagitan ng clickable link para sa online registration form. Naku, wag na wag po kayo maniniwala dahil fake o bogus ang mga cash aids na ito. Ang mga post na ito ay illegal pang ginamit ang DepEd logo at maging larawan ni na Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at DepEd Secretary Sari Angara para lamang makapanloko. Hinikayat ng DepEd ang publiko na magpunta at magbasa lamang sa official website at social media platforms ng DepEd at sinabi rin ito na iulat sa kanilang opisina ang mga fake posts. Nanawagan din ang DepEd na manatiling mapagmatsyag ang publiko laban sa mga maling impormasyon na kumakalat online.
Pinag-usapan ng Army Chiefs ng Pilipinas at Japan ang tungkol sa mga military exercises. Ayon sa Philippine Army, bumisita si Japan Ground Self-Defense Force General Yasunori Moroshita sa Fort Bonifacio para makipagkita kay Philippine Army Chief Lieutenant General Roy Galido. Dito, tinalakay ng 2 pinuno ng militar ang hinggil sa mga military drills. Kabilang na rito ang balikatan exercises, ang pinakamalaking military drill sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos sa Laknib exercise at ang Yama exercise sa pagitan naman ng Japan at US. Matatandaang nitong Hunyo ay pinirmahan ng Pilipinas sa Japan ang isang reciprocal access agreement kung saan pinapayagan nito ang deployment ng puwersa ng Japan sa Pilipinas, makadadalo naman ang puwersa ng Pilipinas sa mga combat trainings sa Japan. Ngunit bago matuloy ang nasabing reciprocal access agreement ay kinakailangan pa itong i-ratify ng lehislatura ng Pilipinas at ng Japan. Susunod, Vladimir Putin bumisita sa Mongolia para sa isang selebrasyon at pagpupulong.
Venezuela naglabas ng arrest warrant para sa leader ng oposisyon na si Edmundo Gonzalez.
At Joe Biden binatiko si Netanyahu ng Israel dahil sa umanong bigong protektahan ang mga bihag ng Hamas. Detalye ng mga balitang yan sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba, sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Natapos na po ang mitigation hearing para sa mga sangkot sa Hong Kong 47 trial. Nagpahayag ang 45 aktivista sa korte ng kanilang final pleas para sa light sentences ng nasabing paglilitis. Ang mitigation hearings ay isinagawa upang mabawasan ang posibleng mabigat na sentensya sa mga akusado. Kinasuhan ang mga nasabing aktivista ng conspiracy to subvert the state power. Sa ilalim po yan ng National Security Law ng Hong Kong, ang krimeng ito ay may kaparusahan ng hanggang habang buhay na pagkakabilanggo. At sinasabi ng maraming legal experts na ang Hong Kong 47 trial ang pinakamalaking kaso ng National Security Law sa kanilang lungsod. Matatanda ang inaresto ng mga pulis ang 47 aktivista noong taong 2021 dahil sa kanilang pakikilahok sa isang unofficial voting upang pumili ng mga kandidatong pro-democracy para sa 2020 Legislative Council election. Pinaratangan ang mga akusado ng pagbuo ng plano upang pilitin umano ang gobyerno na tuparin ang mga kahilingan ng mga nagprotesta noong taong 2019, kabilang na ang universal suffrage. 31 sa mga akusado ang nag-plead ng guilty, habang 16 ang humarap sa isang paglilitis noong nakaraang taon. 2 sa mga nakulong ang naabsuelto naman noong buwan ng Mayo.
Nakatakdang bumisita si Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida sa Seoul upang makipagpulong kay President Yoon Suk-yeol. Nais tingnan ng dalawang bansa ang progreso ng kanilang pinaigting na kooperasyon bago bumaba sa pwesto si Kishida. Simula noong maupo sa pwesto noong taong 2022 si Yoon ay naging prioridad na niya ang pakikipag-ayos ng ugnayan nila ng Japan at palakasin ang kanilang militar upang maghanda laban sa banta ng North Korea. Nagdulot din ang kanyang advokasya ng pangakong ugnayan ng South Korea, Japan at Estados Unidos sa Camp David Summit noong nakaraang taon. Ayon naman kay Yoon ay magpapatuloy pa rin ang suporta ng South Korea sa kabila ng pagpalit ng pinuno ng estado ng Tokyo at Washington.
한미일 캠프 데이비드 협력 체계라고 하는 것은 인도 태평양 지역이라든가 또는 글로벌 경제 안보에 매우 중요하고 또 한미일 3국에게도 매우 이익이 되는 중요한 것이기 때문에 지도자의 변경이 있다고 해서 바뀔 그런 것은 아니고.
Dumating na si Russian President Vladimir Putin sa Mongolia nitong Lunes. Ito po ang kanyang unang pagbisita sa isang miyembro ng International Criminal Court mula nang inilabas ang arrest warrant para sa kanya noong nakaraang taon. Sinalubong si President Putin ng isang seremonya sa Ulaanbaatar. Isang honor guard na nakasuot na matingkad na pula at asul na uniforme ang kaagad namang sumalubong sa kanya. Matapos ito ay umakyat sina Putin at Mongolian President Ukna Kurelsuk sa mga hagdanan ng Government Palace na nilagyan pa ng red carpet. Dadalo rin si Putin sa isang selebrasyon ng ika-85 taong anibersaryo ng tagumpay ng labanan ng Soviet at Mongolia laban sa Japan. Agaran man nagpahayag ng galit ang Kiev sa pagbisitang ito at inakusahan nito ang Mongolia ng pagiging responsable sa mga war crimes umano ng Russia dahil sa hindi nito pag-aresto kay President Putin.
Inanunsyo ng United Kingdom na kanilang isususpindi ang arms export sa Israel.
There is no equivalence between Hamas terrorists and Israel's democratic government, or indeed Iran and their partners and proxies. But to license arms exports to Israel, we must assess their compliance with international humanitarian law, notwithstanding the abhorrence of their opponents' tactics and ideology.
Ayon kay UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy, nasa 30 sa kabuang 350 arms export licenses ang kanilang sinuspindi. Ang nasabing desisyon anya ay bilang pag-iwas sa posibilidad na baka gamitin ito ng Israel na makagawa ng seryosong paglabag sa karapatang pantao. Ikinadismaya naman ni Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant ang naging desisyon na ito ng UK. Iginit naman ni British Defense Minister John Healey na hindi ito senyales ng pagbawi ng suporta ng Britanya sa giyera ng Israel, ngunit nais lamang nitong magsilbi bilang palatandaan ng pangako ng Israel patungo sa karapatang pantao.
We are a staunch ally of Israel. We remain a staunch ally of Israel. We've made this legal judgment as a result of the process we're required to follow. We've suspended the export licenses on 30 out of 350 parts. These are ones that could be a clear risk in breaching international law in Gaza, but our determination to stand with Israel, to be part of the collective defense if they come under direct attack again, as they have done before, remains resolute and absolute.
Ayon sa Democratic Republic of the Congo o DRC, umabot na po sa 129 na katao ang napatay matapos nila magtangkang tumakas mula sa prison central Makala sa kabisera ng Kinshasa. Inuulat ni DRC Interior Minister Shabani Luko na ang mga bilanggo ay nagtangkang tumakas itong Lunes sa gitna ng isang sunog sa mga bilangguan. Dagdag pa nito, may karagdagang 59 na katao rin ang sugatan sa nasabing gulo at may malubhang pinsala sa gusali. Sinabi naman ni Luko na nagsagawa na rin sila ng crisis meeting kasama ang mga defense and security agencies at muling naibalik naman ang katahimikan sa nasabing lugar.
Inilabas ni Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro ang isang arrest warrant para kay opposition leader Edmundo Gonzales na inakusahan ng conspiracy at iba pang krimen.
Entonces este señor cobarde que da órdenes de contratar comanditos, que avala la violencia que sufrimos, que avala el golpe eléctrico del viernes pasado, este señor cobarde González Urrutia se da el tupé de decir que no, él no reconoce leyes, él no reconoce nada. ¿Qué es eso? Eso es inadmisible. Por eso sé que la inmensa mayoría de las personas que vivimos en este país, ciudadanos y ciudadanas de Venezuela, están de acuerdo de que las leyes funcionen, de que haya orden, de que se respete la Constitución y de que hagan sus trabajos los poderes públicos.
Ito ay sa gitna ng pagtatalo ng publiko kung si Gonzales o si Maduro nga ba ang nanalo sa eleksyon nitong Hulyo sa Venezuela. Inilabas ang arrest warrant nitong Lunes sa kahilingan ng Office of the Public Prosecutor na nagsasagawa rin ng investigasyon sa nasabing kontrobersyal na resulta ng eleksyon. Inisyu ang warrant matapos hindi dumalo si Gonzales ng 3 beses sa mga hearings kaugnay sa mga akusasyon ng conspiracy at pamemeke ng mga dokumento. Ayon sa isang tagapagsalita ni Gonzales, hinihintay pa nila ang anumang abiso kaugnay ng warrant at tumanggi na silang magbigay pa ng ibang komento.
Noong Lunes, kinumpiska ng Estados Unidos ang isang eroplanong ginamit ni Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro mula Dominican Republic patungo ng Florida. Ayon sa U.S. Justice Department, lumabag sa U.S. sanctions ang pagkakabili ng eroplano. Anjo Milano po para sa balita.
Ang pagkakakumpiska ng Estados Unidos sa eroplano ni Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro ay sa gitna ng paghingi ng international community ng linaw ukol sa eleksyong naganap doon noong 28 ng Hulyo. Sumasailalim ngayon sa mabigat na US sanctions si Maduro, associates at ang sektor ng langis nito. At dahil nga sa pinagsususpetsya ang eleksyon, inaasahan ang mas marami pang susunod na paghihigpit sa Venezuela. Ayon kay U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, ang Dassault Falcon 900EX aircraft ay binili ng iligal sa halagang $13 million ng isang shell company. Ayon kay Garland, inismagil ito palabas ng US para gamitin anya ni Maduro at ng cronies nito. Ayon sa mga opisyal ng US, ang pangungumpiska ay naisagawa sa tulong ng Dominican Republic. Anjo Milano para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sa Israel, patuloy ang pagpoprotesta ng libo-libong mga tao matapos ma-recover ng puwersang militar ang mga bangkay ng 6 na hostages ng Hamas sa Gaza. Narito ang report ni Mayfanway Zaragoza.
Sa ikalawang gabi ng pagalsa, libo-libong mga demonstrador ang nagtungo sa mga kalye ng Tel Aviv sa Jerusalem. Ito ay dahil sa pagkabigo ng Israel na maiuwi ng buhay ang hostages ng Hamas na nasa Gaza. Noong linggo, na-recover ng Israeli troops ang mga bangkay ng 6 na hostages. Galit at pagdadalamhati ang kasunod nito mula sa Israelis na ilang buwan nang nananawagan para sa pagtigil ng labanan upang maiuwi sana ng buhay ang mga bihag. Ayon kay Michael Caspi, tiyahin ng hostage na si Alon Ohel na hanggang ngayon ay nasa Gaza, hindi maipaliwanag ang nararamdaman ng mga tao matapos ang recovery sa 6 na bangkay.
When people just heard about and we didn't know exactly and we just heard that there is the bodies and then maybe the names and everybody thought maybe it's his family member, and after that to hear the names and we know the families, we know the people, we know the stories. It was shocking. It was very hard. It was, I don't know, it was like kind of chaos and sadness and terrified and all the feeling together. It was really hard.
Ayon naman kay retired Army veteran Itay Sala na may 2 anak na nakipaglaban sa Gaza, banta sa kapayapaan ni Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
He doesn't care about the hostages. Well, if one day the CIA will let the public read his personality files, the world will know what kind of person he is. And I got 2 sons, soldiers fighting in Gaza. And I know what it's about, okay? So that's why I'm coming here. First, to save the hostages, and second, to save the state of Israel.
Paulit-ulit na pahayag ni Netanyahu ng pagbawi sa hostages ang prioridad. Ngunit ang issue ng tinatawag na Philadelphia Corridor sa hilagang Gaza Strip na border ng Egypt ay tila humahadlang sa ceasefire deal. Ilang ulit nang tinanggihan ng Hamas ang presensya ng Israeli sa koridor. Samantalang naninindigan naman si Netanyahu na huwag iwanan ito. Mayfanway Zaragoza para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Humingi ng pamanhin si Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sa mga pamilya ng 6 na bihag na pinatay ng Hamas.
אמרתי למשפחות, ואני חוזר ואומר גם הערב, אני מבקש את סליחתכם שלא הצלחנו להביא אותם חזרה בחיים. היינו קרובים, אבל לא הצלחנו. ואני חוזר ואומר גם הערב, ישראל לא תעבור לסדר היום על הטבח הזה. החמאס ישלם על כך מחיר כבד מאוד.
Sinabi nitong kanyang nakausap ang mga kaanak ng 6 na biktima kung saan malapit na sana nila mailigtas ang mga biktima, subalit sila ay nabigo. Pagtitiyak naman ito sa mga kaanak ng biktima na pagbabayaran niya ang Hamas. Natagpuan ang 6 na bangkay ng mga bihag ng Hamas sa isang tunnel sa Gaza. Dahil sa insidente, sumiklab ang malawakang kilos protesta sa nasabing bansa kung saan nanawagan silang marapat na tumugon na si Netanyahu. Sinamahan naman sila ng pinakamalaking trade union ng Israel na nag-anunsyo ng malawakang welga bilang pakikiisa sa malawakang panawagan na makipagkompromiso na sa militanteng grupo ng Hamas para sa isang tuluyang ceasefire at hostage release deal. Sa ngayon, nasa 77 pa ang dakip na nasa kustudiya ng grupo na ngayon ay ikinakampanya ng mga nagpoprotesta na maibalik na sa kanilang mga pamilya. Dagdag pa ng Hamas ay isasauli nila itong mga dinakip sa loob ng mga kabaong kapag pinagpatuloy pa ng Israeli Defense Force or IDF ang kanilang pagtugis sa tauhan ng Hamas.
Hindi nagpatinag si Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sa pressure na kanyang kinakaharap upang mapabilis ang proseso ng paglaya ng mga natitirang bihag ng Hamas.
What has changed in the last 5 days? What has changed? One thing. These murderers executed 6 of our hostages. They shot them in the back of the head. That's what's changed. And now after this, we're asked to show seriousness? We're asked to make concessions? What message does this send Hamas? It says, kill more hostages, murder more hostages, you'll get more concessions. The pressure internationally must be directed at these killers, at Hamas, not at Israel. We say yes, they say no all the time, but they also murdered these people. And now we need maximum pressure on Hamas. I don't believe that either President Biden or anyone serious about achieving peace and achieving the release would seriously ask Israel to make these concessions. We've already made them. Hamas has to make the concession. Thank you very much. Toda rabba lachem.
Sa kabila ng malawakang protesta sa Israel ay binigyang diin ni Netanyahu na wala sa isip niyang pakikipagkompromiso para sa isang ceasefire. Iginit ni Netanyahu na para magkaroon ng tigil putukan, kinakailangan na manatili sa kontrol ng Israel ang Philadelphia Corridor bilang bahagi ng anumang kasunduan. Ang Philadelphia Corridor ay isang makitid na daanan sa border ng Gaza at Egypt. Sinasabi ng Israel na ginagamit ito upang ipuslit ang mga armas ng Hamas papasok sa Gaza. Sa kabilang banda, tinanggihan ng Egypt at Hamas ang anumang ganitong aktibidad at hindi rin papayag ang Hamas sa kahit anumang presensya ng Israel sa koridor na ito.
Samantala, binatikos ni US President Joe Biden si Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Ito ay dahil sa wala ito umanong ginawang paraan para iligtas na mapalaya ang mga bihag ng Hamas. Dagdag pa ng US President na nalalapit na ang pagpresenta ng final deal sa negotiators. Nakatakdang magpulong ito kasama ang ilang mga opisyal na nagsusulong ng ceasefire deal sa pagitan ng Israel at Hamas.
I'm heading to a national security meeting right now and then going to Pittsburgh. And so checking on following up on what's happening in Israel. And then I'll be off to Pittsburgh.
Are you planning to present a final hostage deal to both sides this week?
We're very close to that.
What makes you think that this deal will be successful in a way that the other deals were not?
Hope springs eternal.
Mr. President, do you think it's time for Prime Minister Netanyahu to do more on this issue? Do you think he's doing enough?
No.
Dumoble naman ang bilang ng pagharang ng Israel sa mga tulong mula sa United Nations patungong Gaza.
clearly marked UN humanitarian vehicle, part of a convoy that had been fully coordinated with the IDF, was struck 10 times by IDF gunfire, including with bullets targeting front windows. The 2 staff members in the vehicle were thankfully unharmed. This is the latest incident to underscore that systems in place for coordination are not working, and we continue to work with the IDF to ensure that incidents like that do not happen again. We reiterate that parties must respect international humanitarian law at all times. That means that civilians must be protected and their essential needs, including food, water, shelter, and health, must be met wherever they may be in Gaza.
Ayon sa UN Humanitarian Affairs Office, nasa buwan pa lamang ng Agosto ay marami ng tulong ang hindi pinapasok ng Israel sa Gaza. Mula August 1 hanggang 29 ay nasa 199 na mga humanitarian missions ang hinarangan ng Israel paloob ng naturang teritoryo bilang tugon sa panawagan ng mga Palestino. Ang nasabing mga humanitarian missions sa Anya ay mayroong koordinasyon naman sa mga otoridad ng Israel sa Northern Gaza. Makailang beses na ring naglabas ang International Court of Justice ng kautusan na dapat ay payagan ng Israel ang maraming tulong sa Gaza, subalit ito ay hindi sinusunod ng Israel. Kamakailan lang ay pinaputukan ng Israeli Defense Force ang isang humanitarian convoy papasok sa teritoryo na ikinadulot naman ng tensyon sa gitna ng dalawang partido. Sa ngayon ay kasalukuyang isinuspinde ng World Food Program ang kanilang mga planadong convoy dahil sa nasabing insidente.
To press for accountability. I think after this conflict is over, and we hope it's over much sooner than later, there will need to be accountability. There will be boards of inquiry to look at the destruction of UN property, the death of UN personnel, notably our security colleague. So we continue to press for accountability, but our concern right now is twofold: is to deliver as much humanitarian aid as possible and to keep the humanitarian workers safe while they do that work.
Sa iba pang balita, mas pinagting ni US Vice President Kamala Harris at dating US President Donald Trump ang kanilang mga kampanya. Kanya-kanyang nagsagawa ng political rally ang dalawa sa mga pangunahing battlegrounds bago ang gagawing paghaharap ng dalawa sa isang debate. Nasa Detroit si Harris kung saan pinuri niya ang mga sakripisyo ng mga manggagawa. Ipinagdiriwang kasi sa US ang Labor Day doon habang ang running mate nito na si Minnesota Governor Tim Walz ay magtatalumpati naman sa Labor Day event sa Milwaukee. Dadalo naman si Second Gentleman Doug M. Hoff sa Labor Day event sa Newport News, Virginia. Habang si Trump ay nasa Michigan kung saan makakasalamuhan nito ang mga retiradong miyembro ng United Auto Workers bilang pantapat sa pagbisita ni Harris sa Detroit.
That's okay.
Susunod, 5 katao ang nasawi matapos pagbabarilin sa gitna ng isang parada sa New York, USA.
Pinoy swimmer Angel May Autumn sasabak na sa Paralympic Finals.
At RM ng BTS at si Megan Thee Stallion ilalabas ang isang bagong kanta. Mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Gusto nyo bang matuto ng mga nutritional food at easy recipe? Abangan ninyo kami tuwing alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga, Saturday and Sunday. Dito lang yan sa Ito ang Tahanan.
Nagbabalik ka mata ng Agila International sa pagpapatuloy ng mga balita ngayong gabi. Patay ang nasa 11 katao sa probinsya ng Shandong, China. Ito po ay matapos silang araruhin ng isang school bus. Ayon sa mga otoridad, 5 sa mga biktimang nasawi ay mga estudyante habang ang 6 sa mga ito ay kanilang mga magulang. Dagdag pa rito ang 7 sugatan kung saan ang isa ay nasa kritikal na kondisyon. Makikita naman sa ilang larawan at video sa social media na ilan sa mga tao ang naipit sa ilalim ng sasakyan. Batay sa mga saksi, bigla na lamang sumulpot ang bus sa harapan ng mga estudyante at magulang na tahimik lamang na nakatayo sa labas ng gate ng eskwelahan. Samantala, lumalabas sa investigasyon na nawalan ng kontrol ang driver sa sasakyan at ito ngayon ay nasa kustodiya na ng mga otoridad.
Nasawi ang 5 tao sa ginanap na West Indian American Day Parade sa New York. Ito ay matapos pagbabarilin ng isang lalaki. Ayon kay Chief of Patrol John Chell ay dakong 2:00 ng hapon nang magsimulang mamarilang sospek sa isang grupo sa parada. Agad na dinala sa ospital ang mga sugatan kung saan ang 2 sa mga ito ay nasa kritikal na kondisyon. Kasunod nito ay ang pagbibigay babala nila sa mga taong dumalo sa parada na magdoble ingat. Samantala ay sinasagawa na ngayon ang investigasyon sa pagkakakilanlan ng sospek at kung ano ang motibo nito sa pamamaril.
Patay ang 4 na katao sa pamamaril sa isang commuter train sa Chicago. Ayon sa Forest Park Police, nakatanggap sila ng 911 call dakong 5:27 ng umaga na may binaril sa Forest Park CTA Blue Line Station. Patay ng dinatnan ng mga pulis sa mga biktima. Nakatakas naman ang suspect sa pamamaril. Nagsagawa ng investigasyon ng mga otoridad at kasalukuyang nire-review nila ang surveillance video sa lugar. Dineklara ng pulisya na isang isolated incident ang pamamaril. Nangako naman ng Forest Park Police na gagawin nito ang lahat para mahuli ang suspect sa pagpatay sa 4 na biktima.
Kasalukuyang nasa pagamutan ng isang driver matapos lumipad ang kanyang sasakyan dahil sa isang gulong. Kita sa video na nakuna noong August 31 ang isang gulong na nakahambalang sa kahabaan ng isang highway sa Moscow. Mga ilang segundo ay nadaanan ng isang sasakyan ng gulong kung kaya't biglang lumipad ito. Buti na lamang at hindi tumilapon papalabas ng sasakyan ng driver. Sa isang surveillance footage ay makikita na patuloy na sumasadsad ang sasakyan hanggang sa tumigil ito sa gitna ng kalsada.
Maswerte na kaligtas ang magkasintahan sa Arizona matapos bumangga ng isang sasakyan sa kanilang bahay. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, naghahanda ang mga ito para sa hapunan nang biglang binutas ng isang sasakyan ang pader ng kanilang tahanan. Nagtamo ng ilang pasa at sugat ang magkasintahan matapos matabunan ng mga bato mula sa bumagsak na pader ng kanilang bahay. Inaresto naman ng mga pulis ang isang 18 anyos sa driver ng sasakyan dahil sa driving under the influence, criminal damage at kasong endangerment.
Itinigil na ang search and rescue operation sa isang babaeng nahulog sa sinkhole sa Kuala Lumpur. 11 araw na ang nakalilipas nang mahulog ang babae sa sinkhole na bigla na lamang lumitaw sa lupa. Kinokonsidera na ngayon ang pamahalaan ng Malaysia na bigyan ng compensation ang naiwang pamilya ng biktima. Marami ngayon ang biktima ng viral Chase Bank glitch sa TikTok kung saan ang ilan sa mga ito ay nagkautang at nahaharap sa posibleng kaso. Umiikot ang konsepto nito sa glitch ng JP Morgan Chase ATM na magbibigay ng pagkakataon sa mga users na magdeposito ng tseke. Subalit ang trend na ito ay lumalabas na isang check fraud na inaakala naman ng mga TikTok users na magandang paraan upang makakuha ng libreng pera. Kasunod dito ng mga video ng mga tao sa social media na nagpapakita na sila ay nakakuha ng pera mula sa ATM ng Chase. Sa katunayan, ang issue sa glitch ng Chase ay problema sa sistema na kanilang nadiskubre dahil sa trend. Giit ng Chase ay babawiin nila o ibabawas ang mga pera mula sa mga bank accounts ng mga users na siyang dahilan ng malaking pagkakautang ng kanilang mga kliyente sa ibang tao.
Nagbabala ang China ng isang economic retaliation laban sa Japan kung patuloy nitong lilimitahan ang pagbebenta ng semiconductor equipment sa Beijing. Ayon sa media sources, ipinarating ng Toyota Motor sa mga otoridad ang kanilang pagkabahala na posibleng putulin ng China ang mineral access ng Tokyo para sa automotive production. Ito po ay dahil sa sinimulan ng Japan ang paghihigpit nito sa pag-export ng semiconductor manufacturing equipment bilang pagsuporta nito sa trade controls ng Estados Unidos. Hindi naman nagbigay ng anumang pahayag ang Toyota at Chinese Foreign Ministry ukol sa balitang ito.
Tinalo na ng Windows 11 ang Windows 10 sa usage rate sa computer gaming ayon sa resulta ng isang Steam hardware survey. Batay sa datos ng Steam nitong August, nasa 49% ang usage rate ng Windows 11. Mas mataas ito ng 3% kumpara sa naitala noong July. Samantala, bumaba naman ng 3% ang usage rate ng Windows 10. Patuloy ang paglago ng bilang ng gumagamit ng Windows 11 simula nang inilunsad dito noong 2021. Ayon sa isang October 2023 metrics, higit sa 400 million devices ang gumagamit ng Windows 11 bilang operating system para sa computers. Sa harap nito, plano pa rin itigil ng Microsoft ang support nito sa Windows 10 sa October 2025.
Sa sabak, si Filipina para-swimmer Angel May Autumn para sa finals ng Women's 50-meter backstroke S5 sa Paralympic Games sa Paris, France. Sa qualification round ay nag-clock si Angel May ng 44.03 seconds sa first heat at nagtapos siya sa ika-4 na pwesto. Gaganapin ang finals sa araw ng Miyerkules ng umaga sa Pilipinas. Samantala, bigo si para-swimmer Ernie Gawilan na tumungtong sa podium finals sa men's 400-meter freestyle S7 event sa Paris Games. Nagtapos lamang ito sa ika-4 na pwesto, gayunpaman nagpasalamat si Ernie sa lahat ng mga sumuporta sa kanyang 2024 Paralympics Paris Games.
Nakatakdang maglabas ng bagong kantang American rapper na si Megan Thee Stallion at ang miyembro ng BTS na si RM ng kantang Never Play sa September 6. Ibinahagi ni Megan sa kanyang account sa X ang mga katagang Never Play is fun, loud, amazing bilang hint para sa mga fans na nag-aabang sa bagong kanta. Dagdag pa rito ang ilan sa mga pagpapahiwatig nito sa kanilang collaboration mula sa Purple Hearts at side-eye emoji na kinumpirma naman ng BTS account. Kasunod dito, inilabas din niya nitong linggo ang cover art ng Never Play kung saan agaw pansin ang mga vintage comic books at video games nitong disenyo. Anya ay dapat abangan ng mga ARMY ang kakaibang estilo ng rap ni RM na malayo sa mga dati niyang kanta. Samantala, matatandaan na dati nang nagkasama ang dalawa mula sa remix ng kantang Butter.
Nakiisa na ngayon ang YG Entertainment sa paglaban sa lumalalang issue ng deepfake na mga K-pop artists. Ayon sa YG Entertainment, nakahanda sila magsampa ng kaso sa kung sino mang maglalabas ng mga hindi kanais-nais sa deepfake content ng kanilang mga artists. Kasunod dito ang naging aksyon ng JYP Entertainment na maglabas ng legal action para sa mga deepfake videos. Dagdag pa ng YG, patuloy ang ginagawa ng pagbabantay sa mga videos na lumalabas sa social media na maaaring makasira sa reputasyon ng mga artists. Nakilala naman ng YG mula sa mga bigati nitong mga grupo na hawak kagaya ng Blackpink. to anyone, baby monster, Big Bang, winner at treasure. Samantala, pinaimbestigahan na ng Pangulo ng South Korea na si Yoon Suk-yeol ang mga sunod-sunod na insidente ng deepfake na may malalaswang nilalaman.
Susunod, Afro-Cubans ipinagdiwang ang ikatlong taunang patimpalak sa Afro hair.
5 seabirds ipinasok sa conservation red list ng United Kingdom.
At abangan ang iba pang mga storya pagdating ni Alma Angeles at ng Net25 World News. Iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik pa rin ng Mata ng Agila International.
Sunday on Cine Throwback.
Come on, guys! We have to water the crops. Otherwise, this drought will dry them all up. Oh, this heat is making me exhausted.
You guys, what are you doing?
We are making a playground. Do you want to join us?
This Sunday, 12 noon, here on Net25.
Let's net together, so Net25.
Ipinagdiwang ng Afro-Cubans ang ikatlong taunang patimpalak sa Afro hair. Ibinida ng mga kalahok ang makukulay na lang curly hair at natural hairstyles na magbibigay karangalan sa kanilang African roots. Si Raisa Mangilit para sa karagdagang detalye.
Sumali sa annual Afro Hair Contest ang mga babae, lalaki, pati mga bata. Sa Havana, naglakad sa gitna ng pulang carpet ang mga kalahok. Sa kabila ng ulan, hindi naman nasira ang hairstyle ng mga ito. Ipinakita ng contestants ang kanilang braids at free-flowing curls sa harap ng hurado na sinuri ang kalusugan ng bawat hibla, pagkamalikhain at estetika ng bawat entry. Layunin din ng event na mapanatili ang tradisyon, kasaysayan, kagandahan at pagkakaiba-iba ng Afro hairstyle sa isla ng Caribbean. Raisa Mangilit para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Idinagdag na po sa listahan ng UK Red List of Birds ang nasa 5 ibon bilang bahagi ng pangangalaga sa nauubos itong uri. Kabilang sa mga pumasok na ibon sa listahan ay ang Arctic tern, Leechestorm petrel, Giant Iskuya o Pirate of the Sea at ang 2 uri ng gulls. Ang una rito ay ang Great Black Bat Gull na madalas makikita sa taas ng mga bangin, habang ang isa naman ay ang Common Gull na makikita naman sa paligid ng lawa ng England at Scotland. Bukod dito, kilala ang UK na tahanan ng mga seabirds na naninirahan sa gilid ng mga bangin. Kasunod ito na matinding panawagan ng Royal Society for the Protection of Birds sa gobyerno na gumawa ng aksyon para maingatan ang iba't ibang uri ng ibon.
Ang Gangwon Province sa South Korea ay kilala sa pagkakaroon ng malamig na klima at 93% ng kimchi cabbage ay dito itinatanim. Ang kimchi cabbage ay nabubuhay sa malamig na klima at matataas na lugar, Ngunit nakakalungkot na dahil sa pagtaas ng temperatura at paiba-ibang panahon na dulot ng climate change ay apektado ang produksyon ng repolyo na siyang pangunahing kailangan sa paggawa ng masarap na kimchi. Ayon sa Rural Development Administration, isang state farming think tank, ang farm area ng kimchi ay magiging 44 hectares na lamang sa susunod na 25 taon. At wala na ring kimchi cabbage sa Gangwon Highlands sa taong 2090 dahil nga sa climate change. Maraming magsasaka at kimchi masters ang nalungkot sa inilabas na pag-aaral ng State Farming Think Tank. Dahil nga naman sa ang pagtatanim ng kimchi cabbage ay siya nang ikinabubuhay ng kanilang mga pamilya sa loob ng maraming henerasyon. At ito rin ang pangunahing paboritong pagkain sa South Korea.
이거에 대한 위기가 닥쳐오고 있구나 하는 것은 조금 피부로 느끼고 있습니다. 그게 이제 대표적으로 뭐 여러 가지가 있겠지만은 지금 내봉산 태백 같은 경우에는 우리나라의 고랭이 배추의 원조라고도 볼 수 있는 곳이에요. 그런데 그쪽은 이미 이제 토양병이라든가 각종 뭐 바이러스 이런 걸로 인해 가지고 재배 면적이 반토막이 났습니다.
우리 조상 대대로 먹어왔던 김치마저 이게 내 땅에서 자란 배추로 담글 수 없다는 거는 아주 슬픈 일이에요.
Parang iyak na ba tayo, Rikki?
Ako nagutom ako rin.
Nagutom, tapos masisink in din uli sa yung katotohanan na time will come na medyo hindi na ganun kadaling hanapin at mabili itong kimchi. Lalo na nasa Pilipinas tayo, di ba? Kung sinasabi nga na mismo sa South Korea, ay medyo hindi na siya magiging madaling gawin o i-produce, diba?
Pero alam ba, Nina, sa sobrang hilig ko sa kimchi, actually, naranasan kong gumawa na ng kimchi.
Oh, well?
It's a fermentation process.
How did that turn out?
You brine the vegetables until ma-drain siya of its water. Parang kumbaga ma-dehydrate siya. Tapos marami pang proseso yan. Pero medyo matagal ang paghihintay. Pero yan po, kung gusto nyo mag-jeta, yan, isa sa ng mga nutritious na vegetables na pwede nyo kainin. Papakin nyo lang, ganyan.
Tama. And not only is it nutritious, maganda yan sa pagtunaw, di ba?
For the digestive
sa digestion,
system. Yes,
very good siya. Isipin mo hindi, kasi maasim, may anghang siya. But you'd be surprised how neutral it is at very friendly po yan sa ating mga tiyan.
Kaya napansin mo, di ba, usually mga Koreans, they're really very fit. Bukod sa mahilig sila maglakad.
Tama.
Ano yan, talagang isang staple sa diet nila. Yan talaga, staple sa akin yan. Kung karamihan sa Filipino household, sabi ko nga sa'yo, kayo na may patis at bagoong. Sa akin, dapat lagi may kimchi. Naku, natatakam ako.
Magpadala ka nga isang beses.
Bukas magdala tayo ng kimchi.
Hindi ako tatanggi, Rikki. Because love ko din yung kimchi.
Ayan, dalang din natin ng kimchi si Miss Alma. Dahil tingnan natin kung may balita naman siya buhat sa Korea.
Yes.
At tandaan po, mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito kami ni Nina para maghatid ng balita saan man dako ng mundo. Muli, ako po si Rikki Mathay.
At ako naman, si Nina Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga balitang nangyari sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Net 25 World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines, a tropical storm has ravaged the Philippines, killing at least 13. In Israel, for the second night in a row, thousands protested the government's failure to rescue hostages held in Gaza. 11 people were killed in China's eastern Shandong province after a school bus lost control at a busy pedestrian junction, with disturbing footage showing bodies lying on the road and trapped under the vehicle. And in Turkey, a disturbing video shows U.S. Marines being attacked. The news starts now. A tropical storm has battered the Philippines, causing widespread damage and claiming the lives of at least 13 people. Tropical storm Yagi, locally known as Enteng, made landfall in Aurora province on Monday, knocking out power in the eastern town of Casiguran. As of this morning, the storm center is located in the coastal waters of the northern city of Lawag. Heavy rainfall and strong winds have triggered landslides and flash floods in several areas, leading to fatalities and injuries. At least 7 people have died in Antipolo, east of Manila, due to landslides and drowning. 4 others are reported missing after being swept away by a landslide and flash flood. Additional fatalities have been reported in the central provinces of northern Samar, Negros Oriental, and Naga. The Philippines is no stranger to tropical storms, with an average of 20 such events occurring annually. Rescue and relief efforts are ongoing in affected areas as authorities work to assess the full extent of the damage caused by Tropical Storm Yagi. Heavy rainfall brought by Typhoon Shanshan continues to wreak havoc in Japan. In Chiba Prefecture's Ichihara City, vehicles were seen navigating flooded roads, as captured in this video shared on X. Now, Reuters confirmed the location and date of the footage through satellite imagery and file metadata. The Japan Meteorological Agency remains on high alert, warning of potential landslides, floods, and rising water levels in western and eastern Japan. The prolonged heavy rainfall has weakened the ground, increasing the risk of these natural hazards. While Typhoon Shanshan has been downgraded, unstable atmospheric conditions persist in northern and western Japan due to a rain front extending from the Sea of Japan. Thousands of protesters took to the streets of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem for a second night to demonstrate against the Israeli government and its failure to bring home hostages held in Gaza. The bodies of 6 hostages were recovered by Israeli troops on Sunday, triggering an outpouring of grief and rage among Israelis. Was this one of the most devastating attacks in their country's history? Well, Michael Caspi, the aunt of Alon Ohel, a hostage still held in Gaza, said the news of the 6 deaths sparked chaos and sadness in the community, prompting people to protest in huge numbers.
We were crying the whole morning because it was like, it's so frightening. The feeling that in 1 minute things can change and people can die. And we know, we hope that he's really alive and we can save him in a deal. So we want it to be happen. It's horrible. I don't have another word to express it.
Retired Army veteran Itai Sela, who has 2 sons fighting in Gaza, expressed his belief that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is a threat to world peace.
The government of Israel is a threat to the world peace. It's a dictatorship run by one-man show, and Israel has 200 nuclear armament. And the way Netanyahu is a world chaos agent, like Donald Trump, is a threat to the world peace. He doesn't care about the hostages. Well, if one day the CIA will let the public read his personality files, the world will know what kind of person he is. And I got 2 sons, soldiers fighting in Gaza. And I know what it's about, okay? So that's why I'm coming here. First, to save the hostages, and second, to save the state of Israel.
Israel's prime minister has doubled down on his stance that troops must remain in the southern Gaza border as a condition for a ceasefire deal. The issue of the so-called Philadelphia corridor on Gaza's border with Egypt has been a major sticking point in efforts to secure a deal to halt the fighting in Gaza and return Israeli hostages held by Hamas. The Mathay likeness for more.
Speaking for the first time since mass protests on Sunday, Netanyahu has defended his position. He says, left unguarded, the Philadelphia corridor will be used by Hamas to bring more weapons and ammunition into Gaza. The killing of the 6 hostages drew hundreds of thousands of Israelis to the streets on Sunday to press for a deal. Those protests continued into Monday. with demonstrators attempting to disrupt Netanyahu's news conference. But Netanyahu is unmoved, suggesting if he makes concessions, more hostages will be slain.
What has changed in the last 5 days? What has changed? One thing. These murderers executed 6 of our hostages. They shot them in the back of the head. That's what's changed. And now after this, we're asked to show seriousness? We're asked to make concessions? What message does this send Hamas? It says, kill more hostages, murder more hostages, you'll get more concessions.
Netanyahu's stance on the negotiations has frustrated allies, including the United States. It's also widened a rift with his own defense minister, Yoav Gallant. U.S. President Joe Biden says Netanyahu is not doing enough to get a hostage deal.
Do you think he's doing enough?
No.
But the Israeli Prime Minister says it's not Israel that should be pressured.
The pressure internationally must be directed at these killers, at Hamas, not at Israel. We say yes, they say no all the time, but they also murdered these people. And now we need maximum pressure on Hamas. I don't believe that either President Biden or anyone serious about achieving peace and achieving the release would seriously ask Israel to make these concessions. We've already made them. Hamas has to make the concession.
Retired Israeli army veteran Ittai Sela isn't buying any of what Netanyahu is saying. Calling him a dictator, Sela says the prime minister is a threat to world peace.
He doesn't care about the hostages. Well, if one day the CIA will let the public read his personality files, the world will know what kind of person he is. And I got 2 sons, soldiers fighting in Gaza. And I know what it's about, okay? So that's why I'm coming here. First, to save the hostages, and second, to save the state of Israel.
As the protests continued, workers across Israel took part in a general strike on Monday. Several thousand people gathered outside Netanyahu's residence in Jerusalem, where they clashed with police. In Tel Aviv, noisy protesters set fire to wooden pallets. But for now, Netanyahu doesn't appear to be listening to any of them. So when, in his view, will the fighting stop?
I would define the end of the war in Gaza. When Hamas no longer rules Gaza. We throw them out.
For now, it appears a ceasefire, much less an end to the war, remains as elusive as ever. Thomas I. Likeness, Net 25 World News.
To the U.S. now, on the campaign trail, Vice President Kamala Harris made her first joint appearance with President Biden since he made the historic decision to drop out of the race. The two hit the battleground state of Pennsylvania, rallying with blue-collar union workers. In Pennsylvania, Biden and Harris appeared together for the first time since Harris became the Democratic nominee. Biden highlighted their achievements, particularly the protection of pensions for over 1 million workers.
A true friend, the Vice President and the next great President of the United States of America. Folks, we made a lot of progress, and Kamala and I are going to build on that progress, and she's going to build on it. I'll be on the sidelines, but I'll do everything I can to help. No, I'm serious. Do you think he loses even an instant of sleep over it? Do you think he cares about all the work you do every day and how hard it is? Do you think he cares about good-paying jobs for hard-working people who built this economy? I know her. I trust her. Not a joke. I trust her. Number 2, the first decision I made, the nominee in 2020, was selecting her as my vice president. Yeah. Are you ready to fight? Yeah! Are you ready to win? Yeah! Are you ready to elect Kamala Harris our next president of the United States of America? And in the process, are you ready to make Donald Trump a loser again? Yeah!
New polls show Harris with a slight lead, but there is no significant bump following her convention. Harris and her team are cautioning supporters against complacency.
It's going to be a tight race to the very end. So let's not pay too much attention to those polls. Because as unions and labor knows best, we know what it's like to be the underdog. And we are the underdog in this race. And we have some hard work then ahead of us. But here's the beauty of us in this room. We like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work.
Meanwhile, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz had a scare today while campaigning in Milwaukee. Vehicles in his motorcade collided, injuring some staffers and reporters. Fortunately, the governor and everyone involved sustained only minor injuries.
Spoken with the staff. I'm relieved to say that with a few minor injuries, everybody's going to be okay. So, thank you. President Biden and Vice President Harris called to check in, and we certainly appreciate their concern. And I want to express my sincere thanks to the U.S. Secret Service and all the local first responders for their quick reaction to help.
Notably absent from the campaign trail today was former President Donald Trump. However, he is scheduled to visit Nevada, North Carolina, and Wisconsin later this week. Harris is yet to travel to New Hampshire before spending several days preparing for her debate with Trump next week. And now to Russia. Moscow has stated that it views Vice President Kamala Harris as more predictable than her opponent Donald Trump. But what does this mean for the U.S. presidential race? In a rare TV interview, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov shared various opinions on the upcoming election, while emphasizing that Russia does not favor any candidate. Why does the Kremlin find Democrats, including Vice President Harris, more predictable than Republicans? Peskov mentioned this sentiment, reflecting a broader preference within Moscow. Earlier in July, when President Joe Biden was still in the race, Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed a preference for the current commander-in-chief over Trump. On Sunday, Peskov accused Washington of meddling in Russia's affairs and noted that bilateral relations remain at a historic low. Is there any hope for a solution to the ongoing war in Ukraine? Now, the Kremlin also expressed skepticism over Trump's repeated claims that he could end the war within 24 hours if re-elected. Harris and Trump have contrasting approaches to the Ukraine conflict. Harris supports increased aid to Ukraine, while Trump calls for halting U.S. support. With their first debate just a week away, how will these candidates outline their visions for addressing the war and the future of U.S.-Russia relations? Now, recent polls show Harris leading Trump nationwide, including in key battleground states. But with Russia closely monitoring the U.S. election, what influence might the Kremlin have on the outcome? According to U.S. intelligence, the Kremlin is even actively attempting to sway the results in its favor. Disturbing footage has emerged tonight showing a violent attack on 2 U.S. Marines in Turkey. The video captures a mob grabbing one of the Marines, putting a sack over his head while chanting, "Yankee, go home." The shocking incident took place in Izmir, a city in western Turkey. The Marine, dressed in plain clothes, was suddenly surrounded by the group. As they restrained him, another Marine rushed in to help, only to be attacked as well. The group said the man was a soldier on board the USS Wasp, an amphibious assault ship. Earlier, the Turkey Youth Union, or TGB, posted a video on X showing a group holding down a man on the street and putting a white hood over his head while shouting slogans. Both men were on shore leave for the USS Wasp, a station in the Aegean Sea. Authorities have arrested 15 people connected to the incident and all members of the Turkish Youth Union. The group claims they targeted the Marines because they hold U.S. military personnel responsible for the ongoing conflict in Gaza, accusing them of having the blood of Palestinians on their hands. It's worth noting that this group has carried out similar attacks in the past. According to the U.S. Embassy, both Marines are safe following the attack. In a significant escalation of Venezuela's political crisis, a court has issued an arrest warrant for opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez. This development intensifies the already heated dispute over the results of the late July presidential election, which has seen both President Nicolas Maduro and Gonzalez claim victory. The warrant accusing Gonzalez of conspiracy was revealed by the Attorney General's office. Take a look.
A Venezuelan court has issued an arrest warrant for opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez amid a dispute over whether he or President Nicolas Maduro won the country's presidential election in late July. News of the warrant came from the country's Attorney General's office on Monday, which shared a photo of the document with Reuters. The warrant accuses Gonzalez of conspiracy and other crimes. Maduro spoke on state television after news of the warrant broke. This cowardly man gives orders to hire comanditos. He endorses the violence we are suffering and endorses the power cuts from last Friday. This cowardly man, Gonzalez Urrutia, has the nerve to say he doesn't recognize anything. That is why the majority of the people who live in Venezuela agree that laws should work, that there must be order, the Constitution should be respected, and public government institutions should do their work. An arrest warrant against Gonzalez would amount to a major escalation in Maduro's government's crackdown against the opposition following the disputed July 28th election, which has included detentions of opposition figures and protesters. Venezuela's National Electoral Authority and its top court have said Maduro won with just over half of the votes, but tallies shared by the opposition show a resounding victory for Gonzalez. The opposition, along with some Western countries and international bodies like a United Nations panel of experts, have said the vote was not transparent and demanded publication of full tallies, with some outright decrying fraud. A Gonzalez spokesperson said they were awaiting any notification of a warrant, but made no further comment. The opposition has denied any wrongdoing. The warrant request came hours after the Biden administration said an aircraft used by Maduro had been confiscated in the Dominican Republic. Washington determined that its purchase violated U.S. sanctions, while the Venezuelan government slammed the move as an act of piracy.
11 people were killed in China's eastern Shandong province today after a school bus lost control at a busy pedestrian junction, according to broadcaster CCTV, with disturbing footage showing bodies lying on the road and trapped under the vehicle. 6 parents and 5 children were killed in the incident, while 1 remained in critical condition. More than 24 were injured, according to CCTV. Dongping Police Department said in a statement on WeChat that a vehicle picking up students lost control at a junction in Dongping County, Shandong, on Tuesday morning. The accident is under investigation. China's People's Daily newspaper said on Sunday that China was urging measures at primary and secondary schools across the country to ensure safety of students and school, including preventing safety hazards on campus, safe use of school buses, and traffic patrols. Brazil's telecom regulator has threatened to sanction Elon Musk's satellite broadband company, Starlink, just hours after the Supreme Court upheld a ban on his social network X. And climate change is threatening the future of kimchi, a staple of Korean cuisine, as rising temperatures and erratic weather impact Napa cabbage production. When Net 25 World News returns.
Ngayong Sabado sa Motorcycle Republic.
Sa episode na to, talin naman natin ang buong Motor Republic sa Mindoro. Hindi kayo magsasawa sa Mindoro, lalong-lalo na hindi kami magsasawang mag-ride.
This is Motorcycle Republic, tuwing Sabado, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Let's get together. Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
Brazil's telecom regulator has threatened to sanction Elon Musk's satellite broadband company Starlink. Now, this was just hours after the Supreme Court upheld the ban on his social network X. The move comes amid escalating tensions between the country and Musk's business empire. Take a look.
Tensions escalated between Brazil and Elon Musk's business empire on Monday as the country's telecom regulator threatened to sanction his satellite broadband company Starlink. The news comes hours after the Supreme Court upheld a controversial decision to ban his social network X from the country. The court ruled it allowed the spread of hate messages and falsehoods about Brazil's electronic voting system that undermined the country's democracy. On Monday, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva told CNN Brazil, quote, "The Brazilian judiciary may have given an important signal that the world is not obliged to put up with Musk's far-right ideology just because he is rich." In response to the judge's earlier move to freeze Starlink's accounts for possible use to pay fines owed by X, Musk threatened reciprocal asset seizures in Brazil, but did not say how. Starlink on Monday again found itself in Brazilian authorities' crosshairs after refusing to comply with an order for all internet providers to block domestic access to X. This led telecommunications regulator Anatel to threaten sanctions for non-compliance, which could include revoking its operating license. Anatel is also inspecting all telecom operators for compliance, with Starlink being the only one that's not cooperating. The firm did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Monday. Earlier, the Supreme Court unanimously upheld X's suspension for failing to appoint a local legal representative. With 21.5 million users, Brazil is the social network's sixth largest market.
Hong Kong's flag carrier Cathay Pacific Airways has grounded its entire Airbus A350 fleet following an in-flight engine component failure. The airline has canceled approximately 34 return flights to conduct thorough inspections and repairs. The incident has sent shares in engine manufacturer Rolls-Royce plummeting, as the company is the sole supplier of engines for the A350 aircraft. While the specific failed component has not been disclosed, it's believed to be a fuel nozzle. Experts suggest that this type of failure, although serious, is less critical than the failure of a major rotating part like a turbine blade. Now, the grounding of the A350 fleet has raised concerns for other airlines operating the A350-1000, including British Airways and Qatar Airways, which has the largest fleet of this variant. Rolls-Royce has confirmed its involvement in the investigation and is working closely with Cathay Pacific and relevant authorities, and other airlines have not yet received instructions to inspect similar engines. New Zealand is set to nearly triple its entry fees for tourists. Now, what are the potential consequences of this decision? The government said in a statement it would increase the international visitor and conservation and tourism fees starting on October 1 to 100 New Zealand dollars from 35 New Zealand dollars. Now, the 35 New Zealand dollar fee was introduced in July 2019, but this was not sufficient to cover the costs associated with so many visitors. Now, the government said the fee was competitive. It was confident New Zealand would continue to be seen as an attractive visitor destination.
Well, the IVL is actually hypothecated for 50% tourism and 50% conservation. So what we want to do is shift some of the costs from the taxpayer to the visitor, and ultimately what we want to do is grow tourism. We've got an ambitious target to double our exports as a country over the next 10 years. Tourism is our second biggest export earner. I've tasked Tourism NZ to grow the value of international tourism by $5 billion over the next 4 years.
However, New Zealand Airport's Chief Executive Billy Moore And Echo Zip Adventures Managing Director Gavin Oliver said the higher fee could discourage tourists, especially as the sector, once New Zealand's biggest export earner, is still struggling to recover from strict border closures implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think we're saddened by it. It went to consultation. There were a number of levels were proposed, $50, $70 and $100, and we advocated for 50. We felt there should be an increase, but this is a very, very significant increase at a time when the tourism sector is struggling to recover post-COVID.
So I think New Zealand's right up there at the moment at being one of the most expensive places to cross the border for a holiday, and that really means we need to think carefully about our economic strategy and how we're going to improve the economic situation of all New Zealanders when tourism is such a core part of our economy.
The New Zealand government has also recently increased the cost of visitor visas, and there is a proposal to increase charges on regional airports. Climate change is threatening the future of kimchi, a staple of Korean cuisine, as rising temperatures and erratic weather impact Napa cabbage production. Take a look.
The spicy, tangy dish called kimchi, a foundation of Korean food culture, is succumbing to climate change in its homeland. South Korean scientists, farmers, and manufacturers say they see a decline in the quality and quantity of its main ingredient, the Napa cabbage. Kim Sigap has grown kimchi cabbage for more than half a century and has seen dramatic changes that he blames at least in part on climate change.
I can feel that a climate crisis is approaching. There are many signs, but to give a representative example, take Maebong San Mountain in Taibek County, which can be considered the origin of highland cabbage in our country. However, the cultivation area there has fallen by half because of soil diseases and viruses that thrive in high temperatures.
Napa cabbage thrives in cool climates, ideally between 64 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. But in Gangwon province, where nearly all of it is grown in the country, summer temperatures are now closer to an average of 77 degrees, with peaks of 86. Government data shows high temperatures and erratic weather have eaten away at Napa cabbage farming areas by more than half since the 2000s. And the Rural Development Administration's climate change scenarios project this area will shrink to only around 100 acres in 25 years, with none in the highlands by 2090.
Production costs have definitely increased due to climate-related difficulties. Since crops are often affected by various diseases and pests, we have to continuously apply substances that are somewhat effective against them. We need to keep spraying them.
Researchers are taking action to push back on the impact by developing heat and disease-resistant varieties of Napa cabbage. Plant pathologist Lee Young-gyu is at the National Institute of Crop Science.
We are also looking into watering methods that could help lower temperatures and, as I mentioned earlier, expanding the use of biological control methods to combat the newly emerging half-wilt disease. Additionally, since highland areas are typically sloped, we are researching cultivation techniques that allow for stable farming on slopes. Given the rising temperatures, we are also working on developing cabbage varieties that can grow well, even in higher temperatures.
It all adds to the challenges for South Korea's homegrown kimchi industry, which also faces competition from lower-priced imports from China, mostly used in restaurants. The kimchi that South Korea brings in from overseas rose from January to July this year, hitting some $98 million, up around 7% from last year, and surpassing the 2022 record.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow. Good night.